My name is Richard Chalfan. I live in Bellevue, Washington. I'm a retired engineer, spent a career at the Boeing Company, and I'm currently working at the Leica store in Bellevue, Washington. I've belonged to LHSA for 3 years now. One of the fascinating things about collecting early Leicas is that they're extremely well-built cameras. My 1A, which is not an extremely early one, they made them from 1925 to 30 and a few later, is 86 years old. And yet it works perfectly. Once it's cleaned and lubricated and adjusted, it works to factory spec. You can do that with Leicas. Most other cameras you can't. And that's another motivation for wanting to shoot with Leicas. Excellent lenses, wonderful cameras, even the very old ones. Well, my first tip is to know everything you can about the cameras. It's very easy to see something advertised, say, oh, I'm going to buy it, find that you overpaid and you got something that doesn't work and maybe something that isn't even real. There are a lot of Russian copies that are out, and some of the more valuable cameras exist as excellent fakes. You have to understand what and why you should get what you're going to get. Jim Lager has a wonderful set of books. Dennis Laney, who's now passed away, has a book that's still available that detail every single camera that Leica made. That's where I'd start. And then every kind of book you can get hold of that details Leica cameras and the Leica history will help you understand and focus on what you want and get something that's appropriate for where you want to go. Well, I think my second tip is to establish sources for your collecting. If you live on the East Coast, it's actually easier because there are a lot more early Leicas back there. Out on the West Coast, I've been able to find very, very few locally. I have bought a couple of cameras on eBay. That's risky. I've gotten some great deals and had one that was so bad I had to go through their customer service to get my money back. I've established a relationship with Stephen Tedesco of Claverick, New York, and I buy most of my cameras from him. He's just one of a number of independent sellers who make their living finding and then reselling camera equipment. One of the fascinating and wonderful things about the Model A is that the lens is not interchangeable. But all of the later cameras, except for the B, have an interchangeable lens. Some of the early Leica lenses draw beautifully. They're not necessarily as sharp as current lenses. One of my favorites is the Xenon lens, 1.5, 10 air-to-glass elements. It flares horribly, but sometimes that flare is an extremely desirable creative effect. So don't just limit yourself to the best lenses. Look, find, some of them are actually fairly inexpensive, and find the joy of using the capabilities of the lens rather than just focusing on sharpness. If you decide that you're going to shoot with a vintage Leica, even the M series cameras, are the M6 and earlier, have a potential issue of having their lubricants deteriorate or evaporate. So you may have a Leica 1 Model A and it works perfectly, but you can bet that the lubricants are not any good anymore. So you should get it cleaned, lubricated, and adjusted. It's called a CLA. If you don't do that, the camera, however well it works, is going to be operating metal on metal and you're going to wear it out. So while there's a small investment in doing that, if you're going to shoot a lot with it, in my opinion, it's essential. Even an M2 or an M3, which are very common shooters, those are over 60 years old. They need to be fixed and adjusted. And my last tip is to go shoot, to do whatever you're interested in doing. If you like street shooting, go shoot on the street. If you like sporting events, no, you can't shoot the soccer ball that's 100 yards away, but you can shoot the crowd, you can shoot the team, you can do all sorts of things. Be creative, find things that are interesting, learn the limits of the camera, operate within those limits, and you can get pictures as wonderful as using a modern camera.